What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. This one is an idea that I've delayed several times. I was originally going to make this right after the first part, but since it only got me 12 views, I thought maybe another time. Then as my channel suddenly gained 10,000 subscribers in 1 week back in November, you guys have asked for part 2. I've been busy with stuff, and yeah, I could just push another video back and have Legacy take that day. But I just really wanted this to be perfect. I wanted to go into detail about how Legacy rose to the top and how they functioned as a group. Like, I just wanted to go into detail about their run. Now in this video, I cover Legacy's run from the night after WrestleMania to Night of Champions. I wanted to go all the way up to WrestleMania 26, but we just couldn't do that. That'll be saved for another part where I'll talk about the feud between DX and Legacy, Cena and Orton, all that. For those of you that never watched the first part of the series, I highly recommend you do. Sure, there's electronic music and bad audio, but you'll be missing out if you don't watch it. For me to talk about this one, we gotta go back to where we left off, WrestleMania 25. On that night, Randy Orton faced Triple H in an underwhelming, weak, dreadful matchup. It wasn't a payoff to a 3-month feud that saw Orton destroy Shane and Vince. It didn't live up to expectations. Everyone was expecting a fight, but what we got wasn't even close to it. Anyways, the next night on Raw, Randy Orton demanded a rematch against Triple H for the WWE Championship. He wasn't given the rematch, but he was booked in a 6-man tag team match that saw Orton team up with Rhodes and DiBiase to face Triple H and the McMahons at Backlash. After that, Orton would challenge Vince to a matchup for later that night. Vince accepted. Near the end of that match, Orton was looking to punt Vince when Shane interfered. This led to DiBiase and Rhodes coming out and attacking Shane. Legacy continued attacking Shane up until Triple H came out. The numbers game caught up to Triple H and there was nobody to save him. But then suddenly, the Animal, Batista, returned. Batista speared Orton and he cleared house. The Animal then delivered the Batista bomb on Rhodes to end Raw on top with Triple H and Shane. Vince then announced that he isn't going to make it to Backlash and that Batista is going to take his place in that matchup. Now, as you know, Batista already had an issue with Legacy because they're the ones that took him out back in December. Vicky Guerrero later added the 6-man tag team matches for the WWE Championship. At Backlash, Randy Orton punted the hell out of Triple H to become the new WWE Champion. Now, watching this again, the fans were kind of cheering Orton. It felt like Triple H was the heel. As a matter of fact, when Triple H was getting medical attention, some fans were singing na 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 hey hey. I guess they were fed up with him. Anyways, Triple H was on the shelf due to the devastating punt. The next night on Raw, Shane McMahon interfered in Orton's match against MVP. He repeatedly blasted Orton with a kendo stick and he hit a flying elbow on the Viper before Rhodes and DiBiase ran out. Since Shane attacked Randy, a match was booked for the following week's Raw. Shane McMahon versus Randy Orton. Later that night, Batista won the right to face Randy Orton for the WWE Championship at Judgment Day. Orton at this point had got rid of Triple H and now he's looking to vanquish Shane McMahon. The two brawled all over the arena and Shane was kicking Orton's ass. Shane O'Mac attempted to go up to the top rope. Will Hill jump onto Orton, who's on the announce table, but Rhodes and DiBiase interfered. This led to a 3-on-1 assault on Shane. MVP tried to even the odds, but he failed. Batista then came out and he cleared the ring once again. An angry Vicky Guerrero walked up to the ramp and she booked Shane McMahon in a matchup against Legacy. If Batista and MVP beat Rhodes and DiBiase in separate matches, then they'll be added to the matchup. As it turns out, MVP got counted out and Batista got himself disqualified, which meant that Legacy was going to face Shane McMahon 3-on-1. Orton and Legacy smashed Shane's leg during the match. This was the final appearance Shane O'Mac made in his first WWE run. He left the company later that year. At Judgment Day, Randy Orton managed to retain the WWE Championship by disqualifying himself. He slapped the referee once again. This smartass. He did this in a matchup against Cena a year earlier, and the reason why he did this is because he just knew that he wasn't going to beat Batista, and it was going to be Batista's night, so he just slapped him to prevent Batista from winning the title. After the match, Legacy attacked Batista. It wasn't Shane O'Mac who saved the Animal, but it was Ric Flair. Flair's return wouldn't last for long, as on the June 1st episode of Raw, the Nature Boy challenged Orton to a fight to the finish. This fight started off in the parking lot and it ended inside a steel cage. Orton would punt Flair as Batista looked on. This is something I just learned. I don't remember Orton punting Flair at all. Like, it just adds to the craziness of Randy Orton. Anyways, Batista was looking to return the favor to Orton in a steel cage match at Extreme Rules. With no help from Legacy, Randy Orton lost the WWE Championship to Batista. Batista dedicated the victory to Ric Flair. The next night on Raw, Orton crashed Batista's celebration. The Viper slowly, and I mean slowly, walked down to the ring. As Orton entered the ring, Rhodes and DiBiase came out and they ambushed Batista. Legacy started to target Batista's arm and they delivered thunderous stomps to the Animal's arm. They ended this assault with a steel chair. At this point, Orton was hell-bent on tearing Batista's arm right out of its socket. And at the end of the segment, that's what it looked like he accomplished. Orton stood with Batista's WWE Championship, and he even took the title away from him, signaling what's to come later that night. Legacy were confident that Batista's arm is broken. Josh Matthews then came up to Orton, and the Viper said that he's entitled to a rematch and that he's gonna issue it tonight. Later on, Vicky stated that if Batista didn't come out to the ring at the end of the night, then he forfeits the WWE Championship to Randy Orton. At the end of the night, Randy Orton came out with Batista's WWE Championship. The Viper mentioned that Rhodes and DiBiase are the #1 contenders to the Unified Tag Team Championships, and he then said that he hopes Batista doesn't use what happened earlier as an excuse to not compete. Orton also mentioned that he is entitled to a title match tonight, and in the unlikely event Batista doesn't show up or enter the count of 10, then he is awarded the WWE Championship by forfeit. Lillian Garcia introduced Batista, and the music played, but he was nowhere to be found. The ref rang the bell and he counted to 10. Once he reached the count of 7, an ambulance was shown on the Titantron. The ref refused to award the title to Orton since the ambulance was returning, and the fans chanted Batista. All of a sudden, we see Triple H with a sledgehammer in his hand. The game walked down to the ring, and look at Orton's reaction to it. Like, this guy had the best reactions of anyone in 2009. He was crazy. It felt like he was actually a lunatic. Rhodes and DiBiase grabbed chairs to protect themselves, and that wouldn't work out for them as Triple H would blast them both with the sledgehammer. Orton was left alone in the middle of the ring. The game dropped the sledgehammer as Orton was leaving, and this made Orton change his mind and re-enter the ring. The two brawled all over the arena, and Orton tried to avoid Triple H, but he just couldn't. Orton equipped himself with a chair, but it didn't help him at all as Triple H hit a spinebuster on him. From there, he delivered several chair shots, including some chair shots to the head. See, WWE was PG at the time, yet they still had chair shots to the head. The crowd chanted pedigree, and the game obliged. He hit the pedigree on Orton on a steel chair to end Raw on top. Now, since Batista vacated the title, a fatal 4-way match was booked for the following week's Raw. Randy Orton faced Big Show, Triple H, and John Cena, and the winner of that match is going to be the WWE Champion. Near the end of the match, Triple H hit a pedigree on Big Show, but Cena hit an AA on him afterwards. As Cena went for the cover, the Big Show kicked out. Cena then measured the Big Show looking for the AA, and he successfully hit it. But Randy Orton suddenly broke the count, and he threw Cena into the post. Orton then RKO'd Big Show to become the new WWE Champion. This meant Orton was a 4-time WWE Champion and 5-time World Champion in general. After this, Vince McMahon booked a battle royal with the winner facing Randy Orton for the WWE Championship at the Bash. After some controversy with Rhodes and DiBiase getting involved despite being eliminated, Triple H ended up winning the battle royal to face Randy Orton. Orton was livid. He didn't like this at all, and you could see it by his reaction. Just look at him. Once again, look at him. After this, Donald Trump, the owner of Raw, remember that, pushed the match forward to the following week, and he made it a last man standing match. Those 2 weeks of Raw were so bizarre. Like, he purchased Raw and then he sold it to McMahon. It was random. That last man standing match was brutal. The two destroyed each other, and in the end, it was a draw. Triple H was on the verge of winning the title, but he just pushed the ladder that he was holding onto for balance onto the ground. Due to the result, Orton retained his title. After managing to survive a last man standing match, Mr. McMahon announced to Orton that he is set to fight at the Bash. Orton replied to this saying that he just fought in a match, and he asked Vince if he has any decency. What? Decency? I guess Orton needs to look in the mirror. He then booked Orton in a 3 stages of hell match against Triple H for the Bash. The first fall is a regular wrestling match, the second fall is a Falls Count Anywhere match, and if there's a third fall, then it's a stretcher match. At the end of the night, we found a bruised and battered Orton walking to his car. Now, Rhodes and DiBiase weren't with him because they were ordered to leave the premises by Mr. McMahon, so that's why they aren't with him. Triple H all of a sudden attacked Orton, and he slammed the trunk onto Orton's back. He then told Orton that this Sunday, he's going to hell. At the Bash, Rhodes and DiBiase were set to face the Colognes in a Unified Tag Team Championships match. As the two teams were set to battle, Edge and Chris Jericho were suddenly added to the match. Like, that is the most unfair team. 2 of WWE's best at the time teaming up? That's a cheat code. Well, obviously they won the match, and right after losing the matchup, Rhodes and DiBiase complained about their loss while Orton didn't care about this. He told them to focus on later on tonight because that is much more important than their tag team match. DiBiase seen this as Orton being selfish and only wanting the 2 of them to be his lackeys that save his title. DiBiase stormed off in anger, and before his matchup with Triple H, Randy sent a voicemail to Cody asking if he's managed to get DiBiase back on his side. Anyways, Orton came out to the ring alone, and he won the first fall of the 3 stages of hell match after Triple H blasted him with a chair. This was a tactical move for the game, as once the bell rang for the second fall, Triple H hit the pedigree on Orton to even the score. At the beginning, right when the bell rang for the third fall, Triple H was basically in the driver's seat. The third fall was a stretcher match, I just had to mention it once again. Orton managed to fight back and prevent himself from losing the title, and near the end of the match, Triple H was inches away from becoming the new champion when Cody Rhodes suddenly came out and he assaulted the game. Triple H knocked him down and he was about to pull Orton past the finish line when Ted DiBiase ambushed Triple H. Rhodes and DiBiase tried to put the game on the stretcher, but he fought back, and in the end, Triple H blasted both of them with a sledgehammer. Orton then kicked Triple H in the groin and he blasted him with something, and Triple H fell onto the stretcher. Orton pushed it past the finish line, and he retained the title. As Orton was celebrating his victory, he realized that he is screwed, like, oh no. Triple H blasted him with a sledgehammer to end the show on top. Just not the way he wanted it to be. The next night on Raw, the first guest host of the guest host era was Batista. Oh my god, the guest host era? He booked Orton in a gauntlet match against 3 other men. Later on, Batista notified Orton that Rhodes and DiBiase couldn't help him in that match, and if they do, then he'll fire them on the spot. Ted DiBiase told Orton that he's got to survive for tonight because next week, because his father Ted DiBiase Sr. is going to be the guest host. Orton didn't care about this news since it didn't contribute to his matchup later that night. Now, Orton was set to face 3 superstars who came from ECW, and the reason why was because they had just been traded, and it added a level to unpredictability for Orton. His first opponent was Evan Bourne. After managing to fend off Evan Bourne, Orton was set to face Jack Swagger. In the beginning, Jack Swagger was fighting, but then he decided to abandon the match. Orton was confused, but Swagger explained why he did that. The All-American American said that he's always liked and respected Orton, and on his first night on Raw, he wanted to leave a lasting impression. He shook Orton's hand and he left, and all Randy Orton had to do right now was beat the final opponent. It was revealed to be Mark Henry. Henry came out to the ring in a foul mood and he grabbed the mic. He told Orton that he's always liked and respected him himself, and he came here on his first night on Raw to give an impression like Jack Swagger. In the beginning, Henry overpowered Orton, and then he suddenly stood on the apron just like Jack Swagger. The fans booed him and the ref counted. Once the ref reached the count of 6, Henry grabbed his arm. He then smiled and he told Orton, nope, I'm not gonna lose this match. Randy then went on his knees begging Henry, but that wouldn't work for him as the world's strongest man slammed him on the mat. Orton ended up losing this match to Mark Henry. I thought this was a good face turn for Mark Henry, because when was the last time Henry was a fan favorite before this? 2002? The following week, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, was the guest host for Raw. He booked his son and Cody Rhodes in a title match against Chris Jericho and Edge at Night of Champions. Hey, isn't that favoritism? And he also booked his son in a matchup against Randy Orton. Ted Jr. didn't want this match, but his father thought Orton was just using him, hence the booking of the match. Backstage, DiBiase Jr. didn't know what he wanted to do. Orton told him that Ted losing to him on television isn't going to accomplish anything. Ted Jr. was taken aback to this, and Orton asked Ted to go to his father and do something about this. He then said that if it was his father, and Ted stopped him right there. Ted Jr. then said that his father is a hell of a lot better than Orton's father, Cowboy Bob Orton. Ted Jr. then said that he's going to beat Orton. Later that night, the Viper beat Ted. He tried his best, but it was ultimately Orton who emerged victorious. After the match, Ted Jr. went up to his father, and he blamed him for the loss, stating that he set him up to fail. He even said that his father couldn't get over himself, and he just had to be in the spotlight once again. Ted Sr. said that it wasn't like that at all, and Ted Jr. replied with a slap to his father's face. During Cena and Triple H's tournament final match, with the winner going out to Night of Champions, Legacy got involved, and they caused the double DQ. Orton announced that this is a double disqualification, which means that he's gonna face neither of them at Night of Champions. The Raw guest host Ted DiBiase Sr. came out and he announced that Orton will defend the WWE Championship in a triple threat match against both Triple H and John Cena. Orton once again was pissed off at this announcement. The following week, Orton told DiBiase that he would have done the same exact thing that he did to his father the previous week. Then Cody Rhodes came in and he said that he heard a rumor that his father's gonna host Raw the next week. As Cody and Ted were about to argue about their fathers and whatnot, Orton told them to stop and he acted like a coach. He instructed Rhodes and DiBiase to go after Cena and Triple H, but they should leave Seth Green to him, because Seth Green was the host and he was set to team up with Cena and Triple H. During that 6-man tag team match, Seth Green broke Orton's pinfall. This led to Randy grabbing him and he kicked him. He then attempted to punt him, but Cena tackled him to the ground. Legacy got involved and they brought in a steel chair, but Triple H brought in the equalizer to send Legacy running. Triple H nearly hit Cena with the sledgehammer by accident. This led to a tense moment between the two before they raised Seth Green's arms in the air to end Raw. While Legacy dealt with John Cena and Triple H, they also set their sights on the Unified Tag Team Championships. They randomly went up to Chris Jericho and they told him that they could jump him right now. Then Ted DiBiase mentioned that Jericho has yet to find a tag team partner for Night of Champions, and he asked if there's anyone who would team up with someone who is a self-righteous, condescending loser. Cody then insulted Jericho's father, calling him a bench-warming hockey player. Y2J then put them in their place, stating that he had more titles than Cody and his father combined. He then told DiBiase that he is right in everything he said, but he isn't a loser. He then asked Ted if he understands the prestige of being a champion. Ted replied saying that he understands it, and after they beat Chris, Randy Orton might show up and kick Jericho to send him to the recovery room. Jericho then teased that Orton might be his partner before walking away. Later on, Legacy were on the losing end of the handicap match after Orton tried to punt Cena. He got rolled up by the champ and they lost. At Night of Champions, Chris Jericho revealed his new tag team partner, The Big Show. Legacy got their asses handed to him, and it seemed like Jericho were cheered, like they were the baby faces of the matchup, although you wouldn't really call them that. Big Show locked Ted DiBiase in the Colossal Clutch to make him tap out. Anyways, the triple threat match to me was fun. The crowd was into it. Randy Orton made this face during the match, but some didn't really like this match. It wasn't better than the WrestleMania match, but it held its own. The end of the match involved some shenanigans, and I think this is why some people don't like it. Triple H locked Orton in the sharpshooter, while Cena locked Orton in the STF. Orton tapped out, but the ref wasn't sure who to crown the new champ. Rhodes and DiBiase once again interfered, and they assaulted both men, and the match continued. As Cena recovered, he attempted to AA Rhodes, but Orton suddenly RKO'd him to retain his title. Now, some people didn't like the fact that Orton and Cena and Triple H were all over the main event scene at this time, but who else was going to be in the main event scene on Raw? Do you want the Big Show? Kofi Kingston, who wasn't even ready at the time? They didn't have Shawn Michaels and Batista, and so they had these three in the main event scene. Anyways, this is where I'm going to end the video. The next Legacy video will be about DX returning and feuding with Legacy, and John Cena's feud with Orton, and all of that. I hope it's the last part of the series, and we'll see. That's it for this video. Make sure you hit a Dream Street on the like button and perhaps an RKO on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.